Have you ever looked at a jar of beef dripping and felt a pang of guilt, immediately followed by a wave of intense craving? For decades, we've been told that fats like beef dripping, lard, and butter are the villains of our diet, clogging our arteries and piling on the pounds. But what if I told you that everything you thought you knew about beef dripping was wrong? What if this old-fashioned, flavor-packed fat is actually good for you? Stick around, because today we're diving deep into the science and history of beef dripping. We're going to bust some serious myths and uncover why this culinary relic is making a huge comeback in the kitchens of health-conscious foodies and top chefs alike. By the end of this video, you might just be swapping your expensive olive oil for a humble jar of beef tallow. First, let's get our terms straight. What exactly is beef dripping? Simply put, it's the rendered fat from beef, also known as tallow. When you cook beef, especially cuts with a good amount of fat, the fat melts and separates from the meat. This liquid gold is the dripping. Traditionally, our grandparents would collect this, let it solidify, and use it for cooking everything from roast potatoes to flaky pastries. It was a staple in kitchens before the rise of industrial seed oils. So, where did it all go wrong? The story starts in the mid-20th century. A scientist named Onkel Keys published his influential 7-country study, which linked saturated fat consumption to heart disease. This study, though later found to be flawed and selective in its data, sparked a worldwide panic. Governments and health organizations launched a massive campaign against saturated fats. Animal fats like beef dripping, butter, and lard were demonized. The food industry saw a golden opportunity. They replaced these natural fats with highly processed vegetable and seed oils like margarine, corn oil, and soybean oil. They were marketed as the heart-healthy alternative. We were told to go low-fat, and we listened. We swapped our butter for margarine and our beef dripping for vegetable shortening. The result? Obesity and chronic disease rates didn't go down. They skyrocketed. It turns out the war on saturated fat was based on some shaky science. More recent, comprehensive studies have challenged the old narrative. A massive meta-analysis published in the Annals of Internal Medicine, which reviewed over 70 studies, found no significant evidence to support the idea that dietary saturated fat is associated with an increased risk of heart disease. In fact, the evidence increasingly points to sugar, refined carbohydrates, and the industrial seed oils that replace traditional fats as the real culprits behind modern metabolic diseases. So let's talk about what's actually in beef dripping that makes it a healthier choice than you might think. First, it's a natural whole food. It's made from one ingredient, beef fat. Compare that to margarine or vegetable shortening, which often contain a long list of artificial ingredients, trans fats, and chemicals from the intense processing they undergo. Beef dripping is surprisingly rich in nutrients. Let's break down the fatty acid profile of beef tallow. About 50% of the fat in beef dripping is monounsaturated fat, the very same type of heart-healthy fat that makes olive oil so famous. A good portion of this is oleic acid, which has been shown to have beneficial effects on cholesterol levels and inflammation. Around 45% is saturated fat. And I know what you're thinking, but isn't saturated fat the bad guy? Well, not all saturated fats are created equal. Beef tallow contains stearic acid, which is unique. Studies have shown that stearic acid has a neutral effect on blood cholesterol levels. Your liver actually converts it into the monounsaturated oleic acid. So, a significant portion of the saturated fat in beef dripping doesn't even raise your LDL, or bad cholesterol. The remaining 5% is polyunsaturated fat. And here, a key point. Beef from grass-fed cows has a much better fatty acid profile than grain-fed. Grass-fed tallow has higher levels of omega-3 fatty acids and a beneficial compound called conjugated linoleic acid, or CLA. CLA has been linked in numerous studies to fat loss, improved immune function, and reduced inflammation. So, if you can, always opt for tallow from 100% grass-fed and finished cattle to get the maximum health benefits. Now, let's compare this to the industrial seed oils we were told to eat instead. Oils like canola, corn, and soy are very high in omega-6 polyunsaturated fats. While we need some omega-6, the modern diet provides an overwhelming amount, creating an imbalance with omega-3s. This imbalance is highly pro-inflammatory and is linked to a host of chronic diseases, from heart disease and arthritis to autoimmune conditions. Furthermore, when these delicate oils are heated to high temperatures for frying, they oxidize easily and can create harmful compounds. This brings me to another huge advantage of beef dripping: its stability. Beef dripping has a very high smoke point, typically around 205 degrees Celsius or 400 degrees Fahrenheit. This means you can heat it to high temperatures for searing, roasting, and frying without it breaking down and creating those toxic, inflammatory compounds. It's incredibly stable and safe for high heat cooking. Frying your food in unstable vegetable oil is one of the worst things you can do for your health, whereas using tallow is one of the safest. Think about it. What makes the best roast potatoes? Crispy on the outside, fluffy on the inside. What's the secret? Beef dripping. What makes the flakiest, most delicious pastry? Beef dripping. Chefs have known this for centuries. The flavor it imparts is second to none. It adds a rich, savory depth that you just can't get from bland, neutral-tasting oils. So, how can you start incorporating this super fat back into your diet? It's easy. You can buy ready-made tallow or beef dripping from most butchers or in the supermarket. Or you can make your own at home, which is incredibly simple and cost-effective. Just ask your butcher for some beef suite, which is the raw fat from around the kidneys. Chop it up, put it in a slow cooker or a heavy-bottomed pot on low heat, and let it render down for a few hours. Then, strain the liquid through a cheesecloth into a glass jar. It will keep for months in the fridge or even longer in the freezer. Once you have your liquid gold, the possibilities are endless. Use it to roast your vegetables. It will make your Brussels sprouts and carrots taste like a dream. Sear your steaks in it for the perfect crust. Use it to fry your eggs in the morning. You can even use it in baking. It makes incredible savory pie crusts and even some old-fashioned cakes and cookies. Now, I know this goes against decades of dietary dogma, and it might take a little while to wrap your head around. The key takeaway is this: fat is not the enemy. The right kind of fat is essential for our health. Natural, traditional fats that our ancestors have been eating for thousands of years, like beef dripping, are making a comeback for a reason. They are stable, nutrient-dense, and delicious. It's the highly processed, artificial, and novel foods that have been introduced in the last century that we should be wary of. Of course, moderation and balance are key to any healthy diet. I'm not suggesting you eat a whole jar of tallow with a spoon, but replacing your inflammatory industrial seed oils with stable natural fats, like beef dripping for cooking, is one of the single best changes you can make for your health. It's about getting back to basics, eating real food, and not being afraid of the things that nourished our grandparents and great-grandparents. Before I tell you more, why not share your thoughts about beef dripping? Love it or hate it? Comment below. So, the next time you see a jar of beef dripping, don't shy away. Embrace it. See it for what it is: a delicious, traditional, and surprisingly healthy part of our culinary heritage. Give it a try. Your taste buds and your body might just thank you for it. What do you think? Are you ready to bring beef dripping back into your kitchen? Let me know your thoughts and your favorite ways to use it in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about real food and busting nutritional myths, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, stay healthy and keep cooking.